Friends and viewer, Out of Africa. This is a memoir written by Isak Dinesen. Out of Africa tells the story of a farm that the narrator once had in Africa. The farm is located at the foot of the Ngong Hills outside of Nairobi in what is now Kenya. It sits at an altitude of 6,000 feet. The farm grows coffee, although only part of its 6,000 acre is used for agriculture. The remaining parts of the land are forest and space for the natives to live on. Most of the natives on the farm are from the Kikuyu tribe. In exchange for living on the farm, they labor on it a certain number of days per year. There are many other tribal African nearby. The Swahilis live in Nairobi and down the coast. The Maasai live on a large reserve just south of farm. Many Somalis live in the area as well, including Farah, the chief servant who helps the narrator run the entire farm. The narrator herself is a Danish woman. She never gives her name while telling her story, although it is mentioned in a subtle ways as Baroness Blixen and once as Tanya. The narrator is actively involved with the natives on her farm. She runs an evening school for both children and adults. She gives medical care to anyone who needs it every morning. Once she treats a young Kikuyu boy, Kamanti, who has open sores running up and down his legs. When she cannot heal him, she sends him to a nearby hospital run by Scottish Protestants. Kamanti is healed and returned home a newly converted Christian. He becomes a farm chef and is an expert at preparing the most complex of European dishes. The narrator even sends him for further training in Nairobi. For the majority of Out of Africa, the narrator remembers different incidents that took place on the farm. Although these events are not described in chronological order, one time there is an accidental shooting in which one native boy shot two others, killing one and seriously injuring the other. Eventually, the elders of the Kikuyu tribe determined that the father of the boy who shot the gun must pay the other families for what they suffered. After numerous debates and the involvement of Kikuyu chief Kinanju, a certain quantity of livestock is settled upon. The narrator also has many visitors to her farm. These visitors including many Europeans living around Nairobi, natives who come from large native dances or nogomas, an old Dame Knudsen who lives out his days on the farm, and an Indian high priest. Two of her closest friends, Berkeley Cole and Dennis Finch Houghton, spend a large amount of time on the farm. Berkeley Cole has his own nearby farm, but he helps keep the narrators up to standard by bringing in wine, food, and gramophone record. Daddy's Finch Hatton has no home in Africa except for the farm, although he spent most of his days on safari. Finch Hatton and the narrator frequently hunt together. On two separate occasions, they shot two lines together. Finch Hatton and the narrator have a special relationship, although the narrator never specifically states that the two are lovers. Such a relationship is implied. As the narrator weaves through her memories of Africa, she shapes a landscape that resembles a type of paradise. On her own farm, she lives in a unity with the natives and even some of the animals. At one point, a domesticated deer, Lulu, comes to live with them, which symbolizes the connection of the farm to its landscape. The narrator, in general, proposes that Africa is superior to Europe because it exists in a more pure form without the modernizing influence of culture. As such, it is closer to what God initially intended when He created man. It appears like a true paradise. After describing life on an African farm as idyllic, the narrator concludes that the tale in tragic tones, the coffee farm goes bankrupt because of the difficulties of growing at such high altitude. When the bills cannot be paid, the narrator sells the farm to a foreign firm who plan to divide it up for residential development. Soon after the farm is sold, another tragedy strikes. Dennis Flinch Hatton is killed when his airplane crashes out of south of Nairobi. The narrator has him buried on the Ningong Hill at a location that looks over the plains. Eventually, Danny's brother, the Lord Wincheslia, places a large obelisk on the grave. It is inscribed with the rhyme of ancient mariner. Two lines additionally come to letter sit on the Finch Hatton's grave, a fact that the narrator finds symbolically fitting given Danny's nobility and character. Before she leaves Africa, the narrator also works to relocate the natives who live on her farm since the new owner want them to leave. After much effort, the colonial government agrees that they can all move to a portion of Kikuyu Reserve. With their affairs settled, the narrator herself leaves Africa after selling her furniture, giving away her animals, and telling all of her friends goodbye to them. So this is the story of the memoir Out of Africa by Isaac Newton. Isaac Dinesen, sorry. Out of Africa, it is a memoir, mythical memoir, colonial travel literature written in English. Denmark, place written in Denmark, 1935-36, and date of first publication was 1837. So, narrator is Baroness Karen Blixen, who narrates the story from the first point of first person. Usually, the tone of this is usually light and storytelling until the final section when it turns out melancholic. So, setting place of this memoir is near Nairobi, Kenya, Africa. Protagonist of this memoir is Baroness Karen Blixen. The narrator struggled to keep her coffee farm. So this is the major conflict in this rising action attempts to grow coffee, arrival of old Knudsen, hunting's expedition Africa, accidental shooting between boys, visitors on the farm. Climax of this memoir is the realization that the narrator must sell her farm. Falling action, selling of farm, death of Dennis Finch Hatton, death of Chief Kinanju, departure from Africa. Themes of this memoir is aristocracy, Africa as a paradise, separation of the races, and so this is the memoir Out of Africa by Isak Dinesen. I hope you will enjoy it. Kindly don't forget to like and subscribe the same.